We sued this week also in federal court for transcripts of the court hearings at which these warrants were discussed. We want the transcripts, what went on. Now, we sued the Justice Department. The Justice Department told us they don't have the transcripts, of at least the Carter Page warrant discussions. Now, the judge in that case had responded to Congress, Judge Collier, who I think is the head judge of the FISA court, or the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. What happens is various judges from various jurisdictions compose the FISA court, or the Federal Intelligence Surveillance Court. And I think Judge Collier at the time is currently the head of the court. And she wrote back to Congress, look, I've both informally and I'll tell you, I don't object to these transcripts being released by the Justice Department. The Justice Department said they have no transcripts. So what Judicial Watch did is that we filed, so if the Justice Department doesn't have transcripts, presumably the court might have them. So Judicial Watch filed a brief with the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. We had to figure out how to do that because it's a court that you don't have easy access to, even for our lawyers. But we did get the brief filed. And we are asking for these transcripts to be released. Now, it's possible there are no transcripts because, unfortunately, when you look at these warrants, they look pro forma. And they look like they've been rubber stamped by the judges who reviewed them. You know, in the secret court process, we're assured that the government and the courts bend over backwards to make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Here you have the courts misled, and if there are no transcripts, the courts weren't doing their job in asking the government questions to follow up on what was present here. So Judicial Watch really changed the national debate this week about the FISA spying because of this release. The president congratulated us. Maybe that's why he's being investigated, because he congratulated Judicial Watch. But he congratulated Judicial Watch and me in a tweet. I appeared on Fox News earlier this week to talk about it, and he quoted quite generously from my appearance. I talked about this whole thing being a fraud and a hoax. And he obviously liked what I had to say, and he liked what Judicial Watch was saying, and so he sent out 4 tweets quoting Judicial Watch. So the president is on board with our analysis here. And you know what? The president deserves some credit. And I don't know if he understands this or whether he's been told this, because you have to kind of connect the dots. Earlier this year, you may remember Devin Nunes, the head of the Intelligence Committee, had a memo that disclosed an analysis of what was going on here with the misuse of the Clinton DNC dossier. The memo said that the Clinton DNC dossier was central to the application, proved. The Dennis Nunes memo said that they cited newspaper sources as separate intelligence, when in fact it was the Clinton DNC material laundered through the news media by the reliable source that the FBI was using and paying. True. They say nowhere in the document was the Democrat-Clinton campaign relationship to the Clinton DNC dossier, something the court probably would have wanted to know about. Was that in there? True. And now the deep state did not want that memo to come out. And Nunes and other House members asked the president to declassify the memo so the people could know the truth about the FISA court abuse. And the president overrode the objections of Rod Rosenstein, the FBI, the deep state, and he declassified the memo. As a result of the declassification of that Nunes memo several months ago, it triggered the process under the Freedom of Information Act that ultimately led to this disclosure here. So thank you, President Trump, for getting the transparency train moving. And he's got to keep it moving, because the next step he needs to do, and I encourage you to communicate with the White House about this, is he needs to declassify the rest of it. I don't mean literally all of it, but according to Nunes and Bob Goodlatte, who's the head of the Judiciary Committee, and others who have read this material in its entirety, or nearly in its entirety. The other material is as bad as the Clinton DNC dossier. More corruption. So if he declassifies that, it becomes public, and the FOIA process can work, and Judicial Watch can get more information for you, the American people. If you want the president to declassify, take additional steps and declassify this, follow up on his successful transparency anti-corruption effort earlier this year with an additional step, then you should call the White House. I don't have the number in front of me. I think it's 456-1414. I probably shouldn't even think out loud about that. But you can look up the White House comment line and let them know what you think. We'll get it for you in the feed here or with the video as we post it. So, I mean, Judicial Watch is right in the middle of it. So it's been a crazy week here. My colleagues and I have been working overtime to get this information out to the American people, to make sure that you understand it, and to counteract the big media lies on this. Because if you look at the media analysis here, they think it's no big whoop. Believe me, this is the biggest whoop there is in terms of government corruption, and we're on it. And it wouldn't be out here but for Judicial Watch's efforts. Others have sued for it, but I tell you what, it was Judicial Watch who really, I think, pushed it over the finish line, and certainly the president gave us credit. So that's just great news. It's disturbing news in a sense. It confirms outrageous corruption. You know, there's never been FISA warrants, I think, released before publicly. You know, and this is a rare thing. So you go online and you look at them because they've never been made available publicly. And the liberal media is going to lie to you about them. That's why you got to read them and analyze them and review other good folks who are analyzing and reviewing them online and elsewhere.